Maryn lovers rejoice, we're gonna talk about the Maryn today, and not just this Maryn, we're gonna talk about all the Maryns. Every single- wait, you're saying this isn't a Maryn? Well, you're technically right, but you're also wrong and you owe me an apology by the end of the video, and you'll see why. So if you like Machinewise and you know about the Maryn, then you've known that it's been discontinued for quite a while at this point. How long? Almost 2 years now. Almost 2 years. But that's not the point that I'm trying to make right now. The point I'm trying to make is that we're going to talk about every iteration of the Maryn. Every single one today in this video, or at least I will try. There's an attempt that's going to be made, and I don't know how accurate it'll be. We'll see. So if we're going to talk about the Maryn, let's start off early, shall we? I want to first talk about this guy right here. Now you may be watching this and be thinking, oh, that just looks like a standard Maryn. What makes this one so special and early? Well, I'm about to tell you. See how shiny the blade is? See that number 33? Well, there's a couple things about these that are special about this blade. The very first batch of Maryns was 33 blades. Titanium Maryns, at least. 33 of them. That was the first batch. And they're all shiny, bevel and all, because they were hard milled. The first batch of Maryns was hard milled. Now a little word of precaution about these ones. These early ones tend to snap right at this sharpening choil. Why? Because hard milling can produce stress. And introducing stress into a hardened blade means that it can crack where the stress points are. While it is S35VN, which is one of the best steels for balisongs, that doesn't stop it from having stress cracks, potentially. And unfortunately, some of these ones did end up snapping, even on carpet. But thankfully, Machinewise is really good about listening to customer feedback. So, what did he do to fix this? Well, I'll show you. This! Okay, it's just another standard Maryn, but this one's like a normal production one, and it does show the difference. I'll show you. Now, if you look at the bevel of this Maryn, and you see it's matte, but the flat is shiny, don't look at the scratches. That's something that the previous owner of this Maryn did. But the reason that this is matte on the bevel is because these were soft milled, which meant that they didn't get hardened until after they were milled, which prevented stress from being introduced here, which means that none of these ones have snapped as far as I know. This one specifically I enjoy because it's number 57. And you know that means ketchup. Now all Thai Maryns were S35VN. You can tell because on the back of both the standard one and the first production, they're both printed with S35VN milled into the back of the blade. But you know what wasn't consistent as far as I could find? Now this is a Maryn Light, the aluminum counterpart to the titanium ones. It was supposed to be a cheaper alternative, and if you look back at the prototype post, it says that it was supposed to be D2 tool steel. These ones were supposed to be S30V, but obviously they were changed very early on. But what I could find was that these ones were initially D2 still for the first run, but after they were changed to AEBL, which is still a nice steel, but it's not as expensive as S30VN. Now unfortunately these lights were not as popular as their titanium counterparts. While these guys managed to hit about 350, I believe, and also other variants, we'll talk about that in a bit, these guys barely made it to 200. That doesn't count the weird, we'll talk about the weird in a second. But that means that there's less of these, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean they're impossible to find. You can still find them, they're just a little bit harder to find. They shouldn't be as expensive, but they're a little bit more rare still. And this one's also 57, it's also ketchup. Look at that, look at my ketchup. Anyways, let's talk about Blade West variants, shall we? There weren't any of these at Blade East because I don't think that Machinewise went to Blade East in 2021. But he did go to Blade West, and that means this guy was born. Look at my red. Now you may be seeing this and be thinking, oh, what's so special about that? Is it just the color? Is the color what makes it special? Yes, precisely that. Oh, rare collectible. But for context, the production Maryn lights only came in silver and black. I will find a black one. I swear. And that's what makes these special. There were only about 9 of these that were made specifically for Blade West 2021. And this color is not the only thing that's special about it, but when you open it, look at that. Instead of being serialized, it says BW21. You know what that means? It means Blade West 2021. And also because of Utah laws or something, these ones were never sharpened. If you look at the bevel, I don't know if you can see that, but on the edge, it's just squared off. No sharpness, except for the tip. Now, there were also Maryn trainers that were made for Blade West 2021. There's not a lot of them out there, which means they're also hard to find, and I haven't been able to get one. There was one that was up recently as of 2023. I was gonna say this year, but it's 2024 now. But the person who wanted that, they wanted $900 for it. All right, let's move on to something more modern, shall we? Now this guy right here marks a transition period between the traditional Machinewise and the modern Machinewise, which we will get to. Now, you might be seeing this and think, oh, are those just Prysma handles with a Maryn blade? Technically, yes, but also, technically, it's Maryn Light V2. That doesn't mean you can sell it for $500. It's not worth that because in every other way, it is Prysma handles. I'll show you what's different though. Now, if you look at the faces and the sides, yeah, that's just normal Prysma handles, right? Nothing special there. It's got the bottom pivot weights, the holes for those. Well, when you look inside, it's got a little bit of milling in there, which does not mean that it is worth $500. Don't ask $500. Anyways, there's just been a little bit of confusion about exactly what it should be called because technically it was called a Maryn Light V2 at its drop, but by all means, that was just a placeholder name. This is a Prysma. If this little bit of milling inside of the channel is enough to make you say that it's a Maryn Light V2, then you might as well call the Prysmas that are being speed channeled today a Maryn Light V3, which they're not. They're Prysmas. And so is this. Now what does make this special is the blade. Not only is it stonewashed, you can see it's stonewashed, it's softer around the edges. None of the other Maryn blades were stonewashed before these ones. It was specifically only for this batch. But also, on the back it says S35EN. Now you might be thinking, does that mean that it was just a regular Maryn blade that was lifted for these V2s? No, they are by all means supposed to be light blades. The only reason why they're not on regular Maryn Light handles is because that batch of handles at the time, with the shop that Dalen went to for anodizing, they unfortunately over-etched them and it blew out the tolerances entirely. They were completely scrapped. He could not use them for something as precise as Machinewise balisongs at that point. So instead of scrapping the blades, he decided to take these blades and put them on the current project, which was Prysmas. Now that leads me into this guy. Now by all means, this is a standard Prysma. I mean, technically it's special because it has the Machinewise logo lasered onto the edges of the handles because this was when Dalen first got a laser and he was practicing with it. But anyways, that doesn't change the fact that this is a standard Prysma. This is the production Prysma that ended up being standard for all the Prysmas after they were first made. This guy, in every way, is just a normal Prysma. The blade, the handles, what's that? Oh, there's no thing in the channel. That means it's a normal Prysma. Now there is a little bit of a difference between these modern Prysmas and the older Prysmas. The older Prysmas on their blades had, this logo was cut all the way through. It wasn't just a shallow milling on the side, it was a full cut through all the way. And also it was upside down, so yay? And also on the back of it, this was not chamfered, this was sharp. Until late 2022, early blades had a really sharp back and a very shallow bite indicator. So when you would do something like, say, chaplains, it would just really hurt, and if you were doing tricks that involved that and you were not paying attention, it would feel like you're getting cut on the back, but then when you're getting bit, it doesn't feel like much. So they changed that to be better. And it's been standard for them ever since then. Another thing about this guy is that it was technically supposed to be a continuation of the Maryn line, but was ultimately renamed because it's just so different. But it was supposed to be a cheaper alternative to these guys. It was supposed to be less milling time, less durable materials. It's 6061 aluminum, these were 7075, and it's a trainer. So that means it can be shipped everywhere, and you don't have to worry about the blade. Alright, you've all been patient. Now let's get on to the modern Machinewise stuff. Ooh, I want to see this one. That's a Prysma V2. Friday, May 12th, 2023. Tears of the Kingdom was released. And also these guys were dropped. So this is the Prysma V2. This thing was cool when it first came out because look at that, it's got the chevron. Just like the Maryns, it's got the chevron and it's rounded handles. It's going back to the Maryn Light, baby, it's a Maryn Light. Alright friends, hold your horses. This is not a Maryn Light. This is a Prysma V2. They specifically said it's a Prysma V2. It's 6061 aluminum because the original ones were 7075 by the way, and grade 5 titanium, I didn't mention that earlier. But it's a Prysma. It's 6061 aluminum, and it has the bottom pivot weights. Now, they said it harkens back to the light, but that doesn't make it a light. Just like you're not a light. So these guys had a little bit of an interesting run because they were revealed and then they stopped being made after a couple months. These guys are discontinued now, by the way. You can't get these anymore. They're gone. But they were so cool when they came out because rounded handles are so comfortable, and this thing has an incredible balance that's just, oh, chef's kiss. It's so good. It makes my serotonin just... But yeah, sad day. These guys are discontinued. We'll just put it right there. Oh, did you think that was the end? No, no, no. Hold on a second. Let me just hold on a second. Now don't sip your maple syrup just yet, because after this was discontinued, Machinewise revealed this guy. Now you look at this and you might think, oh, isn't that just the same thing as the last thing? Did they really discontinue it? No, they didn't. And you owe me an apology if you think I'm lying about that, because now it's a Prysma Pro. This was in a weird limbo of being called the Prysma V2 and the Prysma Pro. This has officially been dubbed the Prysma V2. This is a Prysma Pro. So what makes this guy special instead of the last one is that this guy is made of 7075 aluminum. What does that mean? It's more durable. It's not gonna dent, it's not gonna chip as easily. It's durable. This thing is my beater, and look at it, it's still pristine. I love this thing. It's got a great bounce. I like this one a little bit more, but this one is close enough that you can't feel that much of a difference. This marks the actual modern Machinewise period. This is the latest ballad song that was made by Machinewise, at least the newest set of handles. It also has a blade. It's a spear point blade. I don't approve of it necessarily because it's symmetrical, so you can't see what side is which unless you have mismatched colored handles. But it's cool, and I want one. But that's not the end of what's cool about this. This also marks a new era of Ooh, look at the pivots. They're shiny, they're made in-house, and they're T15 Torx bit size. All the other ones have been T10. These are T15 and made in-house, and they're hardened, so they don't strip as easily. Yeah, so obviously this was a little bit late, but I really needed to show this off about my Prysma Pro. Look at that. It says Dingus. Dalen did that for me. It's the Dingus Pro. Alright, I know what you're probably thinking. You want a sound test of all of these? Well, you've been good. You made it this far, so I'll give it to you on one condition. You better eat your vegetables. Like music to our ears. So that's the lineup, start to finish, of the Maryn Lineage. It started from this, and it became this. Now technically, the Maryn had died right here. This is the end of the Maryn. Or I guess right here? Now I understand why they were discontinued. I love how they look, trust me, they are my favorite to look at. They are my favorite knife aesthetically. But they don't quite hold to the flipping and tolerances of modern Machinewise, so I understand why they're discontinued. Although I have heard wind from somebody that there might be plans in the future. Anyways, that's it. That's it for the Maryn line. I don't have anything else to talk about them. Unless there's something small I'll add in editing. So, non-specific outro. Hey, you wanna see something really cool that I got? I got a bouncing arm for my phone to do proper recording with, but actually, it's really springy and bouncy and it doesn't do what I need to properly. Why, you little...